We've been talking a lot about divine wisdom or divine guidance. We've been talking about divine provision and power. We've been talking about divine steps and action. And with all of that is the connection between the mind, the emotions, and the body. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today. So, first of all, when we think about divine guidance and wisdom and revelation, it's that guidance and revelation that orients our minds to think rightly. And if you've been following me in the podcast for a while, one of the things you'll remember and know is that I believe the primary work of executive leaders really is thinking. That's the primary work. So great when our thinking is influenced with the divine wisdom and divine information. So when our mind is properly oriented, then that actually affects our emotions. And our emotions then fall in line with how we've had our minds oriented, if you will. So that's what gives you the power and the ability to have peace on the inside, even if there are some external storms of life that are raging. You ever see those people that no matter what's going on around them, they're able to walk through, remain calm, keep a good perspective? They've got a peace on the inside that transcends all of those external circumstances. And I don't know if you remember, but in the account where Jesus was on the boat with his disciples and a big storm came up, and the disciples were fearful and they thought that, oh, this is the end of us. We're about to die in the storm. And Jesus was in the boat asleep. And they woke him up and said, don't you care that we're perishing? And of course, he wasn't worried about that storm. He just looked out and said, peace, be still. And the storm was gone. It went away just like that. So it's that kind of peace, the peace that the world doesn't give, the peace that the world can't take away, a peace that transcends circumstances. That's the kind of peace that Jesus the Messiah is also giving to us as well. That one that says, peace be still, and the storms calm down, including storms that are taking place in the workplace. So, when the mind is oriented in the right direction and the emotions are oriented also in the right direction, then the body is now in position to go where the mind sends it. So, the body is ready to go where the mind sends it. So, one of the things we want to remember is that the body is actually the temple of the Holy Spirit. Back in the day, we had to go to a physical temple, the temple in Jerusalem. And in today's world, and there's no temple in Jerusalem anymore because God has ordained that each body, each believer is the temple of God's Holy Spirit. And we heard last time that Samson, he didn't honor this principle of the body being the temple of the Holy Spirit of God, and therefore he suffered many consequences. And when he was put in that labor camp of the Philistines, ultimately he died in a very tragic scenario. He asked God for that infusion of power that one last time. And when he got that infusion of power, he was able to knock over the pillars of the false god temple, not the true temple, but at least the temple of the Philistines. And it was said that he killed more people in his death than he had even as a judge of Israel and in protecting God's people prior to that. But that was a tragic way for him to die, blinded in the temple of the foreign god in forced labor camp situation as a prisoner. We want to keep all three parts of ourselves oriented in the right direction: our minds, our emotions, and also our physical body. So, if I summarize what we've been talking about God's guidance, which is our wisdom, God's provision leading to our power, God's steps, which is our action. All of this together is our GPS for life. And when we think about his GPS in our lives, we are, as I said earlier, orienting our minds. And we can even say a prayer: orient my mind, ordain your power in my life, order my steps. Those are the things we can ask of God to orient our minds, ordain His power in our lives, and to order our steps. When you are thinking about your workplace, I want you to think about the freedom that you have to carry out marketplace ministry with all the tools that we've been covering this month. Just think about how that you are in your workplace, not as a fluke, but for a divine purpose and a divine reason. And it's very important that you seek what that is, figure out how you can add value and make a difference in your workplace to other people's lives. You are there representing the land that you really come from, which is a heavenly kingdom. You are an ambassador. Make sure you join me the next time for our show because I have a special guest who's joining me, and she's going to be talking about some ways to take care of the physical body, the temple of the Spirit of God. So, she will talk about ways to keep our bodies strong, particularly keeping our immune system strong. And that's very important because the pandemic is still here with us. So, whether you're vaccinated or not, there's information that she will share that's going to be of high value to all of us. So, make sure you do join me next time. Next episode, we'll be talking about that extremely valuable information. And I also want to say that this month we've been covering all of these points and going a little bit deeper each time about what's really important as a marketplace leader and leaving your mark and legacy in the workplace. And what I want to know is, what else do you want to hear about? Where do you want to go a little bit deeper? Or what else is affecting you in your workplace that I haven't mentioned and that I haven't covered and that we can cover in future episodes? So please do reach out to me and let me know what else you would like to hear. And again, you can reach out to me at Dr. Karen, Dr. Period, capital Karen, at transleadership.com and let me know what's been meaningful to you and what we've covered already, and what else you'd like to focus on, and what else you would like to hear. And I'd like to just end our time together with one verse that talks about who we are as the temple of God. And this verse is found in 1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, and it says, "Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." So we are stewards of this body that really belongs to God. He's lent it to us for a period of time, and we must take care of it. So please do.